First off, it's insane to meet you in person. I saw you in person at the inaugural Soul Symposium, but I never got the chance to speak with you. So here we are now.
Here we are.
Here we are. Mr. Sheehan, I just have a few simple questions for you. Number one, we have some historic witnesses testifying today.
Yes.
And is there one particular question you'd like the House members to ask them?
Yes, I'd like to have them ask them whether they're willing to come back and testify under oath if, in fact, President Trump, once he's in, keeps his promise and authorizes them all to reveal information that was previously all under national security wraps. Because that would be extraordinarily important. So that's if they could set the stage for a hearing that's going to come right after the inauguration, because now President-elect Trump, President-re-elect Trump, has promised that he's going to lift the security restrictions on all of the people. So that would be the best mechanism, rather than have Trump himself say, here's all the information, but to have the Congress now be authorized to hold additional hearings with the people released from their security restrictions. That's going to be the most effective way possible to get the information starting to flow to the public.
I'd like to ask you a follow-up to that, because people that have been following this for years, even decades, we can see this pattern of these peaks and valleys of disclosure where you have significant events and then years and years of nothing. But many in the community also feel that this time is different, that something about this era of disclosure is different. And do you honestly believe that we have what it takes to get this over the finish line with this incoming administration? As you mentioned, he seems to be somewhat pro-disclosure, but time will only tell what we can do.
We'll see. It always depends upon the degree of pressure that the people ourselves put on their elected representatives. Because once they get inside the Beltway here in Washington, they all become part of this club, that is the executive branch and the Congress all working together, and that they share private information with each other, but they begin to view the people ourselves outside of the Beltway as superfluous, unless we are really upset and demanding that a certain thing be done. So we needn't make any mistake about this, that it's going to be the citizen pressure that is going to determine how much is going to come out and how fast it's going to come out. Obviously, the fact that they're now agreeing to hold public hearings is a direct result of the citizen pressure.
Yep.
And Congressman Burchett, for example, after they came out of the skiff the last time, said, look, the only reason we're having these hearings is because of the citizen pressure. He said that. So keep it up if you really want to get this information. So the New Paradigm Institute is now joining together with MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, to help set up citizen disclosure teams in each one of the 435 congressional districts all around the country and in all 50 states, so that we can start to mobilize that information on a grassroots level, have letters to the editor being written to the local newspapers there, to have people going on the local television stations, cable television stations, and all of that. That's what the legislators respond to. That they don't really tend to take a lot of initiative on their own. They are responsive. They're either responsive to some event that has taken place and is on the front pages of the newspapers, or whether the citizens rise up. And so that's what's going on. The people in the legislature are constantly waiting for signals to tell them what to do. Now, in a representative government, you might think that, well, okay, that's okay. It doesn't work exactly the way you would hope it would. But we as citizens need to do the work. Need to mobilize, need to organize, need to put the pressure on the people, and we also need to continue working to make sure that the citizenry is educated about what we already do know. I mean, that there's tons of information about the UFO phenomenon, and now that the government has acknowledged that they're real, people are now more open to hearing that information. So we have to mobilize and get out the information to the American public and to the world, about what is already known. And then we're going to try to add to it in hearings like today.
We're trying our best to cover this and report on everything we can too, because as Dr. Garrison mentioned, every podcast helps, every video helps. And, finally, after speaking to Mr. Bledsoe over there, there's also this feeling or sentiment that this is inevitable. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, it is inevitable. The question is, over what length of time it's inevitable? It could be inevitable after we're all dead and gone.
True.
So the key is to try to have it be inevitable within our lifetimes. And right now, we're hoping that it's inevitable within this next administration. There's a 4-year period here where we're going to really lean in and try to get as much of this revealed as we can, and very importantly, prepare our people of the world, our institutions, our economic institutions, our governing institutions, our religious institutions, to start to absorb this information. Because up until this point, they haven't been responding institutionally, because the institutions of authority and the government have been telling them that it's not true. And so they haven't been willing to expend any time or resources on getting ready for it. So that's what we have to do now. We have to get across the line of making sure everybody's convinced that this is true, and starting to take the steps that are necessary to adjust our structures and our institutions to absorb this information.
Well, that sounds a lot like Carl Nell's slide of the whole of society approach, yes. And we hope to see you around for all of those events, and we'll be here to cover it. So your time is insanely appreciated and valued, and thank you, Mr. Sheehan.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.